it's just such a blessing when you get a little bit of guidance and a little bit, why are you doing it that way kind of education. It's been great.
100%. I will tell you, charismatics has been one of those things that, you don't know what you need until you get it. And then you're like, oh, yeah. And there's days I'm like, okay, do I stay? And then I'm like, yeah, I can't, because I get so much from it. They say surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And so learning from others' mistakes and learning from their successes also. So how do I make myself as successful as, you or the others in charismatics has really challenged me to look outside the box. And I am so grateful.
Welcome to MyMD Unscripted, where healthcare gets personal and the script gets tossed. I'm Dr. Clint Carter, ER doctor turned direct primary care freedom fighter, on a mission to challenge how our healthcare system treats patients in America. In every episode, my expert guests and I dive into real conversations about what's broken and how we can fix it by making healthcare about people, not just managing disease. It's time to rethink what healthcare should be and how we can make it better together. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is your host, Dr. Clint Carter, and I am excited to invite you to meet Danielle Wilderman. She runs a very successful aesthetics business in the Metroplex area, but the story is much more interesting than that. So Danielle, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, but sort of the question on our minds is, how does a no-nonsense nurse anesthetist with 25 years in emergency and critical care medicine end up leading one of Texas's most loved med spas? So with that, tell us more about yourself and how we got here.
Sounds great. Clint, thank you so much for having me. I really do appreciate it. I'm Danielle Wilderman. I am a dual certified nurse anesthetist and family nurse practitioner. I have, like Clint said, I have over 25 years of experience. My background really started in emergency medicine and critical care. I spent about 20-ish years there. Trauma bays, I worked in emergency rooms. I was a flight nurse for many years. But that just kind of taught me, how to work quick, be on my feet all the time, always know what to do within, be 10 steps ahead of myself at all times. So it just taught me that resilience and quick decision making, but also zero BS. Like I just wasn't going to put up with it. I worked in inner city trauma rooms, and so I just didn't have the time for that. Oh. So then I went on to flight nursing, and then you really, you just don't have, you have such a small amount of time and such a small space to work within that you have to be very diligent in what you do. And then I decided, after I got my CRNA and did anesthesia for a few years, I decided that aesthetics was what I wanted to do next. I feel like there's no stopping when you get going, especially when you first get your nursing degree. But I think that emergency background brought me into aesthetics, but gives me that precision. I also bring something that I don't think you see in aesthetics much, as a safety thing. You see a lot of just people out there doing aesthetics, and there's so much that goes into it that can be unsafe. I bring that safety part of it. I bring that real medicine part of it that I think is very, very important. So you're just here to make everyone feel and look good, but do it safely.
Well, I mean, okay. And you were rocking and rolling at that point doing, anesthesia in operating rooms. How did that lead to aesthetics? Like what made that jump?
It was actually just going to be a side gig. I got to where I was only doing like 2 days a week. I was doing 2 24s a week of anesthesia. So I had 5 days off. I kind of got bored and always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I wanted to be an attorney when I was little. So
we'll forgive you for that.
I know. Okay. We'll let that side go, right? But I got bored, and I can only sit around and twiddle my thumbs so much. It must be part of the ADD of me, I guess. And said I was going to do this on the side. So I decided that I was going to open a little Botox in a building with 300 square feet in an old building here in Waxahachie. And it just has blossomed from there. And the more and more I got into it, the more and more I loved it. And I wasn't working for a paycheck. I was working for what made other people feel great, instead of just covering it up with either prescription medicines or anesthesia. So it just became a very big passion.
Well, it's a little bit addictive when you're able to have a patient relationship, while they're awake, and not having an emergency.
Absolutely.
So, that for me was kind of like the jump from ER. And then there you have grateful patients that are thankful for helping them reach their goals and feel well.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Well,
You know?
you get to sit there, instead of being dictated of your time, you're actually get to sit there and talk to them and find out what's really bothering them. So when you really find that out and you can start fixing it kind of from the inside out and then put the frosting on top with a little Botox and all those things, it makes a huge, huge difference in the way they feel about themselves walking out.
Yeah, it's not about the wrinkle. It's about the wedding they're about to go to, or what. It's about why they can't have that wrinkle.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's all about, it has nothing to do with that. And when you make
Trip.
somebody have that like confidence within themselves and they walk out with a smile on their face, that's like the winning ticket. That's like the golden crown.
Well, tell me, okay, so there's a big difference between going to work a couple times a week, working for the man, getting a paycheck, figuring out what to do with yourself, and then transitioning to running your own business. I imagine there was a lot of overlap where you were just doing it on your off days, but what were the biggest challenges to making that switch?
I'll tell you, biggest challenges for me was learning the business side. Like, I know how to get people. Like, that is in my soul. It's who I am. Again, like I said, it wasn't what I planned on doing when I was little, but it's kind of just formed within me. But learning how to actually run a business and learn to run it from the numbers, not from my heart, has really been one of the biggest challenges. Because
they don't teach that stuff in medical training. That's not part of the game.
None at all. Even, CRNA school, they don't teach you how to bill. They don't teach you how to manage that. They don't teach you any of that. So that was
The assumption is that everyone's going to work for the man when they get finished being trained.
Exactly. And that's really, really, I think, the biggest struggle of opening your own business.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And you say it wasn't what you wanted to do when you were little. You just didn't know. This is what God had for you all along. And he's held it together for, in the early years of our businesses. And, we're both in Dr. Spinoza's mastermind group for medical, businesses, trying to learn how to do it right. And it's just such a blessing when you get a little bit of guidance and a little bit, why are you doing it that way kind of education. It's been great.
100%. I will tell you, Charismatics has been one of those things that, you don't know what you need until you get it. And then you're like, oh, yeah. And there's days I'm like, okay, do I stay? And then I'm like, yeah, I can't, because I get so much from it. They say surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. And so learning from others' mistakes and learning from their successes also. So how do I make myself as successful as, you or the others in Charismatics has really challenged me to look outside the box. And I am so grateful.
It's been great. I was running a fairly successful business here, but I wanted to grow it bigger, more locations, spread the gospel of direct primary care, if you will, along with some aesthetics along the way to meet people where they're at. And I just don't know how to do it. And there was no one else. So it was like, well, Spinoza's done it. Let's join Charismatics, and it's been great. It's been fun. And, along the way, part of what we're learning isn't, dollars and cents. It's leading and managing. So how do you think your past in the hospital and in those settings has changed the way or guided the way that you lead? Because you've got staff, you've got patients, you're a leader in that world. How do you think your hospital experience has changed that?
So, what I'll say is, in the hospital, you always, or my world, especially with trauma, ICU, all that, it was more chaos. And I was always in those high intensity trauma bays, flight nursing with very critical patients. So you lead with chaos there, but it makes, then people trust you because they know you've kind of been in the thick of all the things. So when people learn your background, now though, in business, it's more about vision and consistency and those kind of things. You're still having to deal with chaos here and there, but but you're there now developing other people. You're there trying to grow your business. So your goal now is to not help like so much the patient, you are there to help the patient, but now you're, as a business owner, growing the people that are carrying your business. So I'll tell you, being able to be in that crazy world and then bring it back to where I can really focus on the vision and that consistency of what my vision for Revive has been pretty impressive. And I think long term, it will all play and marry very well together.
I love that, like you said, you can only control the culture in the emergency room so much because there's just so much inevitable chaos that when we get out and we learn how to build into our team. And, I can only help one person at a time. But if I build into this team of, like-minded people that share our values, we can do anything. And the culture is great. It's so fun. And that's not how it was at the hospital. Of course, you get in there, everybody's just doing their best. But it's been such a great experience. What values, what kind of y'all's core values, if you don't mind?
I will tell you, yeah, charismatics has been instrumental in this whole core value thing. And it has made a huge difference for us. So when we came up with our core values, we said growth, accountability, integrity, passion, commitment, and teamwork.
Yeah.
We hire for them. We fire for them. I live by them and will even call myself out if I'm not standing up to them.
Yep.
And I think that, skills, we can teach skills. But when it comes to values and what you truly believe and how you act in your heart, you can't teach that.
I love the interview process. I had an interview yesterday, and by the time they get to me on the interview, they've already been vetted. They are either a good enough nurse or a good enough medical assistant or a good enough admin staff to handle the job responsibilities, or at least we think they are. They get to me, and I just do the core value talk, and I threaten them. I'm like, okay, so here's our core values. And I go through it. Each one has a Bible verse. This is how it applies to each other. This is how it applies to our patients. This is why we do it. This is who we are. And I always point in the general direction of the nurse's station. I'm like, this is who they are. And if none of this is going to sound dumb. All of it sounds good. But if this isn't who you are at your core, right? If sometimes good enough is good enough. If transparency, maybe not now, or, too much change is going to wear us out because evolution without compromise is, I'm like, you're going to be miserable. We're going to be miserable. And then I'm going to have to fire you. So just, if those aren't you at your core, just politely decline the offer letter and go on to another. Doesn't make it right or wrong. That's just not a perfect fit. And, everyone giggles at that, but there's been a couple times where it's like, nope. It wasn't you. It's okay.
You know what? And that's fine. You don't have to be a perfect fit. And that I totally understand. And there's a place for you. I 100% agree. So when we brought the core values into Revive, it made a huge difference.
It's fun. Once you have the right people on the bus, as they say in the business world, then it's just a matter of getting them in the right seat,
Right.
But I know they're the right person. I don't have to mess with that. And
Exactly.
as long as they want and have the capacity to do their job, let's roll.
Absolutely.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Okay. So Revive, it's not just another pretty face, right? It's known for holistic, science-based. You're, nurse anesthetist, nurse practitioner. How do you blend aesthetics with true wellness? Like, how are you making that connection? Because I'm kind of trying to do the same thing.
I'll tell you, I have, when I first started, it was all about Botox and fillers and lasers. We did a lot of skin rejuvenation. But the more I've gotten into it and brought on the wellness piece of it, you realize that wellness and even what you look like on the outside starts on the inside. If your hormones are tanking, if your nutrition's a mess, if you're just on the edge of burnout, you're not going to feel or look good. Just like I said earlier, once we can kind of get them on board of, let's just do some labs. Let's really look and see where you're at. So even when our patients first come in, we ask them a whole series of questions. So that opens that door of, are you really here just for Botox? Or are you here because you look in the mirror and be like, what is going on with my skin? What is happening? So then we answer that question from the inside and work from the inside out. And it makes a huge difference in the way that patients feel and feel like they're heard.
So tell me about that. Tell me about, I don't know, some of your favorite cases that you've got, those faces that you picture that came in thinking you've got to save my skin. I'm getting old fast. What kind of, tell us about a good transformation, a fun case.
I actually have a couple of them, but one of them, I'm going to tell you, this poor girl came to me in just shambles. She didn't even know what she wanted. She just knew that something wasn't right, and she didn't know if she wanted Botox, if she wanted fillers. She had no clue. She's a business owner. She had just inherited the business, but she was in a messy relationship. She was married, but kind of in a messy relationship. And I'm not exaggerating. You couldn't have a conversation with her without her just breaking down in tears. Every time.
That's tough.
No matter even if you just said hello, she would just start crying. So I said, okay, whoa. Let's start out from the basics. Let's get some labs. Let's get you in here. She finally made the decision that she was going to do some bioidentical hormones with us.
Yes, man.
Within her first 2 rounds, this woman she walks in and she's standing proud. She's standing tall. There's not a tear to be had. Now she says, okay, now I need Botox. Now I feel great about myself. Let's prevent the rest of it. I need some skincare. I want to do this. But that was all from the inside out. That had nothing to do with me fixing something or covering something up with what she thought she needed. And till this day, she comes in and anyone that's standing around, she will say, Danielle. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Revive saved your life.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. She's just, she glows when she walks in now. And she's running her business even more successfully than she did before.
Well, because you can't think clearly, you can't handle the stressful decisions, you can't make decisions when you're in that place. So you're hormone depleted and you're anxious and depressed and, you're exhausted and you're not sleeping great and, your relationships are in shambles. And it's like, pause. That's kind of why we do aesthetics at all here at MyMD, is because once you get people's hormones right and you get them feeling right, now you've had a chance to sit down and talk about some lifestyle modifications and maybe you shouldn't do all of those things and you might feel a lot better, and look at your vitamin situation. And then they were feeling great, and then they would walk by a mirror and go, well, and then they would go see a friend of mine in town and spend 3-5 times as much with them as they're spending with me. And I'm like, but it's us. We got a relationship. So I just, we only do sort of holistic type aesthetics because it's a natural next step of wellness, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I always tell them it's like the frosting on the cake.
Yeah.
If the cake's in shambles,
the top of the it's the top of the the wellness pyramid, right? You want to get to self-actualization at the top where you feel good on the inside and it matches on the outside, and your relationships are strong and you have purpose in your life. That's where we're trying to get. And, people listening to this podcast are probably like, I thought we were talking about a med spa, Which great.
It is. It's, it's an aesthetics and wellness clinic. So it is a med spa, right?
It is. It's an aesthetics, wellness and beauty or aesthetics, I guess. It's a continuum, right?
And, when you're doing
can't get all the way to one. If you pump yourself so full of stuff to try to make yourself look pretty, but you're broken on the inside, it's just not going to work. It might show, you might be able to fake a camera for like 1 second, but it's not that. No one in your life is going to believe that.
No. And if you really look at aesthetics, the aesthetic industry right now, a lot of that is moving into the more holistic, side, working from the inside out, looking at vitamins, even looking, peptides, different things like that. How can our bodies function better to look better?
And muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
need it. You need muscle. You need muscle in your face. You need muscle in your body. You need, that's where it comes. That's where that comes in. It's so fun. What are some of your favorite treatment combinations, things? Obviously, hormones pairs really well with most of this other stuff. But what are your favorites?
I'll tell you, again, hormones and vitamins from the inside. But I love me some laser skin resurfacing. I also love PRF, Sculptra for some collagen stimulation. And then just to kind of relax those wrinkles a little bit, a little neuromodulators not to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
But that kind of is my favorite. It really has become a core of what we do at Revive.
I love that. We have M-Face, which helps build up the muscle in the face and put things back where it goes.
Yes.
And it makes you need a lot less Botox.
Absolutely,
right?
it does.
So most of us didn't start doing M-Face when we were like 30, right? It's both wellness because it's preventative, but also it's helping, fill out where the muscle put everything back in place. But a little Botox, not the end of the world to sort of finish it off.
Yeah. And, but I think that's part of the thing when we do consults, we actually talk about that. It's like, where are you losing fat? Where are you losing muscle? Where are you losing bone? And how can we just replace or adapt what you already have and make it better?
Well, especially all those patients who were helping them lose all that weight.
Yes.
And then they get that, I would call it semaglutide face, whatever. It's like all of that fullness from their face disappeared, just like it did from their abs and their buttock. And so that's where having us kind of walk alongside them and help them out in that situation is so important.
Makes a huge difference. Just
because you're like, I'm so healthy, I lost 50 pounds, but I look 40 years older.
Exactly.
And
it's like, and I tell people, I said, it's not just because you were, doing a GLP-1. It's because you lost weight. No matter if you lose weight.
You lost a lot of weight.
Yeah. If you lose a lot of weight, or let's say you go, when I was a bikini competitor, when I went down to my leanest, I looked horrible because I was so gone. But, if I added a little bit of weight back, then all of a sudden I looked a little bit healthier.
Absolutely. No. And there's a lot of, the weight fluctuations in that world too isn't necessarily healthy, but it wins shows and it's better than, being out of control obesity by a long shot. But
exactly.
Yeah. But it also taught you how to control, how the inputs affect the outputs, in your body. And then you can pass that information on to your patients as well.
And that's the one thing I do. I use a lot of anecdotals. There's not, I think sometimes you can overwhelm patient with science, but it's more of this is what we see. And pretty much everything that we do at Revive, I've tried. So I kind of know how it's going to make you feel. So at least I can give some sort of, hey, this is what we're seeing. This is really what real life is, not just what a book says. And I think
when you're doing
really resonate with that.
Yeah. I mean, I just have to make myself be quiet sometimes. So like, I've got a story for that. I've got a story for that, Oh, you were here to talk. Yes. Tell me more about you. But during these interviews, like, so you're doing wellness and aesthetics with a holistic approach. And then you want to talk about Botox. And the patient says, but Botox it's by definition a toxin. It's bad for me, right? Like Botox is toxic. How do you explain that?
Well, I probably have not the best way to explain it because it's a little crazy. So I do anesthesia for a colorectal surgeon. And I said, you'd be really surprised where we put Botox. And they'll look at me like I'm absolutely out of my mind. I'm like, yeah, if somebody has a fissure or something like that and you have to relax muscles, you put it all kind of over. I said, and then people look at me like I'm absolutely crazy. I said, so if you think it was really toxic, do you think they'd put a whole bottle into somebody if it was that toxic? And then they look at me and so much. And they're like, okay, let's just do it.
I mean, it's just the name.
Yes.
It's way too late to rename neurotoxins.
Like we've missed that boat.
Right. It's how that specific bacteria defends itself. Sure. However, we are using it to relax muscles that need to relax.
Exactly.
And a lot of it is you're using these muscles on your face because your face is falling, because you're aging or you lost a lot of weight and the muscle's wearing out. And, so let's put things back as much as we can. And then we're going to relax what needs to relax. If you're having chronic migraines, you're not worried about Botox being toxic. If relaxing those scalp muscles makes the migraines go away,
Add it up.
Bring it. Yes. Bring it. I'll let you know if I stop breathing. Let's go.
Exactly.
Right now, this one I know you're going to have a good answer for, because since 2001, everyone knows for sure after the Women's Health Initiative study came out that hormones are bad for you and dangerous.
Oh,
right. So how do you help them understand that?
I even have some physicians in our area that are a little hesitant. And I said, well, here's the deal. Number one, monitored bioidentical science-backed hormone therapy is safe. And I have articles from all over the world to back it. And it's also life-changing. And actually, if you look at the news right now, they're actually starting to backstep on that Women's Health Initiative.
All the way.
Huh?
All the way back on it.
I know.
The authors of it are apologizing.
Yes.
Yes.
So I really pull things out and I say, whoa, whoa, whoa. No. Let me explain. So when I explain to them and they look at me and they're like, you're kidding. I said, absolutely not. I said, I have been on hormone therapy, bioidenticals, off of it and back on. And I think I'm going to go to the grave with a pellet in my tush.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
I tell people, I say, so, it's part of God's design. So you're right? Like it's normal to feel like crap when so we'll say men are a little more linear, but women around the age 40, the reproductive years are mostly over with, and it's part of God's design. You stop making testosterone.
Yep.
And then and everything gets a little harder, but women are badass and they just keep getting it done. And then menopause hits around 50 and it gets a lot harder and they just keep plowing ahead because everyone tells them that hormone replacement is bad for them. But life expectancy used to be 60. So it was like, oh, yeah, that sucks. But now we're going to live to be like 100. And we're going to spend most of our life just sort of gradually wearing out and breaking. And that last 10 years before death is just like, please take me, God, right? That is the normative, the whole last 20 years of no hormones has caused a lot of miserable 80-year-olds and beyond, right? Even though they can't think,
yeah,
their bones are broken, they don't have any muscle, that everything hurts, that, inflammation to the max, dementia, the whole bit.
And I will tell you, it's so interesting because we get to that point in our lives when all that starts to happen. Well, that's when we become empty nesters also. So I'm in that spot, all my kids just left, they've been gone for a couple years now, but I'm in that empty nest. And do I want to feel terrible during my empty nest years? No.
Correct.
Like I probably have 40 years left. I am not spending them feeling like I'm 90 at the age of 53. It's just not happening.
And we're not drug dealers. We're not just doing it because it feels better. We're making you healthier.
Yes.
Your bones, your muscles, your tissues, your brain, so it doesn't cause breast cancer. Let's get that out there. It's actually breast cancer protective. If you do get a breast cancer that's estrogen sensitive, then you're going to not need to be on estrogen and progesterone. If you get a prostate cancer, it's by definition testosterone sensitive, so they're going to stop your hormones. But low testosterone is a prostate cancer risk factor.
Oh, it's a huge risk factor. So, I actually had a long conversation with a urologist that I work with, and I said, where's your PSA cutoff, and where do you want estrogen in guys, especially if they have higher PSAs. And he says, listen, if their PSA is a little bit high or even on the high side, pellet them and send them over. He goes, we'll work from there. He says, they are much smaller. Then we can figure it out later. He says, just go. So he sends a lot of his male clients to us, his patients to us, because he says,
that's awesome.
It's been a team.
We don't have that luxury. I don't have a ton of urologists or gynecologists in my area that have sort of seen the light. They're less combative than they used to, but I love a urologist that is up to speed. I actually had a gynecologist report on one of my patients come back with the WHI study warning in the bottom, like looked like one of those photocopied, had been photocopied since 2001, just over and over and over again. I'm like, are you serious? You're supposed to be the hormone expert in town. That's embarrassing.
Well, yeah, I think some people when they go to school, they're taught within their parameters. And sometimes you just get so caught up within your blinders that you refuse to look outside the box a little bit until it slaps you in the face and you become that patient. that feels like crack or realizes, oh God, I got to do something. It doesn't hit home yet. I'm convinced.
I've got a couple of them. There's a couple, late 40s female gynecologists. I just want to sneak up on them and pellet them. They would be so amazing. They would be so amazing.
Oh my God.
There would be a restraining order initially, but they would thank me later.
He'd send you a gift later. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I did. I will say, kind of going back to where I started in my background, I think in this being in a small town, because we're just south of the Metroplex, about 30, 40 minutes, being in a small town and having the relationship I do with the doctors that I do have relationships with, that has really strengthened not only their trust in me, but they know how I practice. They know that I'm not, a cowboy out there doing crazy things. They know that I'm truly in it for the patient. It has made a huge difference with how they accept what I'm doing and not doing.
Yeah. Outside the hormones, I have the same experience in a relatively small town.
Yeah.
My wife was a cardiology PA before I stole her away. And then I was doing emergency medicine, family medicine trained. And so we have a really good reputation for like having our head on our shoulders, knowing what we're doing and doing what we're doing for the right reasons. It's just that we joined that hormone cult that gives them a little pause.
Yeah.
But I was resistant, man. My story was very resistant. I was like, not the bioidentical hormone cult. And then I had to. I couldn't quote unquote, fix those, 45-year-old women that were otherwise awesome and feeling like total death. And then finally, when I went expecting it to be just propaganda, I was like, no, it's everything I know, but more. And now I'm angry that I hadn't been taught that to start with.
When I first went to training, I was like, what are you telling me? How did this happen?
I know.
And why?
What is T3?
Yeah.
Why do I care? Why? It's because insurance doesn't pay for that stuff, so they don't tell you. It's so dumb. But and so your background in the hospital, like you said, safety first, precision matters. You're running your business, but you've got other injectors as well. You train them up. You're fairly passionate about making sure that things are being done right, safe, and effective. Tell me a little bit about how you approach that, training up your other injectors and how that's working at Revive.
So, it's really funny. I never really wanted to be a trainer. I didn't think I was a good teacher, all of those things. And the more and more I got into it, I just enjoyed. What I really enjoyed is that light bulb that goes off in their head. And you can see it. It's like their eyes open up and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize. It becomes, when you see somebody take an idea and even make what I thought was a great idea, even a bigger idea, I don't even know how to explain it. It warms my heart. So there's that patient piece, but then there's that staff mentoringship piece that really makes it a lot of fun for me. And I'm actually working on getting out of the business and start working on the business. And so I'm really going to be able to mentor them a lot more because normally I'm so busy I can't see straight. So I'm really excited for this next phase.
Yeah, it's, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity and, some of them are going to go off and quote unquote be the competition, but that's okay. There's plenty of need out there. What the world needs is better precision, safe injectors and clinicians of all kinds. Yeah,
absolutely. And, that's the interesting part, when we do training at Revive. So I train everybody when I'm taking patients that had seen me over the past 5 years and they're going to start seeing a new provider. I tell them I've trained them all and I follow up with them. How are you feeling on this? Okay. You do one. Now I have them critique themselves for me. So I don't need to critique you. You critique yourself. You know where you lacked. You know where you felt uncomfortable. Now let's build on that. I am the eternal model, so I'll let them poke me in the face just so I can tell them, hey, that hurts when you move that needle around. So it really has become something that I love to do. And, we've had a couple people ask, are you going to train outside? And so we're thinking about doing that too.
Yeah. There's a need. Yeah, for sure. We've been blessed that the people that we have are interested in and take it very seriously. But if I had to get an injector to fill in a hole, I don't know where I would get one and if I could trust them, right?
Yeah, because you don't know where they got trained. You just don't.
Correct. That's exactly right.
Okay. You have some of them that are doing it with stuff from China right now.
Yeah, that's hard. Botox, let's face it, it's not a huge moneymaker. There's not a huge margin in it.
No.
It's really more of a service that we provide to people that want to be more well and want their outside to match their inside. And so, I don't know, gateway drug makes it sound dirty, but it's really how what people think they want, and then they come in and you can offer them really what they need.
Absolutely.
And so to kind of start wrapping it up, someone else is listening to this. They love what you're doing. They love what you're saying. They're considering doing the same thing. They're like, you know what? I'm tired of the hospital gig. I would love that fulfillment, that patient relationship, the satisfaction I would get from people coming back. What advice would you give someone who's thinking about making that jump?
You know what? First and foremost, know why you're doing it. Don't get distracted by all the rules. First, figure out why. Because if your why isn't strong enough, all of the hard part of starting a business is not going to get easier. It just gets a little bit harder. So you have to have a strong why. What's driving you to do that? Because I'm going to tell you, there are so many hard parts that you're not ready for. And, the other thing is really get a mentor. Find somebody, like I said, that's smarter than you, that can mentor you down that path. Because without it, it's very, very difficult. You think you're winning, and most of the time you're probably not.
Yes. Amen and amen. If you don't know why you're doing it, you're just going to quit.
Yeah.
Because you think working for the hospital sucks, and it does. But it's not easier than running a business. Not by a long shot. It's just less rewarding than doing something you truly love. So get your why and hang it on the wall, and, you put it next to your toothbrush every day. I love that. And, the mentor piece is huge. Like, everyone should, it's kind of the biblical approach. Everyone should have a mentor, and everyone should also be a mentor to someone a little further behind.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's fun. It's fun with charismatics because we have people of all types in there. Obviously Dr. Spinoza has been there, done that, but there's so many different levels, business acumen and medical diversity. It's been really fun.
Yeah.
And you and I get to pitch in every once in a while, but most of the time we're soaking it up best we can. If someone wants to get a hold of you, wants to get in touch, ask a question, learn more about Revive, anywhere, in the southern half of the, Metroplex, might just want to drive 35 minutes out and say hi. So how do they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. You know what? They can always call the office or find us on our website. It's reviveclinic.tx.com. You can find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram at Danielle_Wilderman. And I'll be real honest, I'm not great on social media, but you can always find me on those other places.
That's right. I'm so bad. I do have other people helping with that, so that's great. We'll have all of that info in the show notes so that you can just click on it and make that connection. Come on, throw a comment about how much you love Danielle and what she's doing in the comment section. But Danielle, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming. We'll have to tell everybody else in charismatics what they're missing out on. This was great.
Clint, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great evening.
Thanks. You too. Have a great one.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for joining me today on MyMD Unscripted. I hope today's conversation opened your mind and inspired you to imagine a better path for your health and therefore life. If you found value in this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone passionate about transforming healthcare. Real change starts with real conversations, so let's keep them going. Until next time, stay well, stay curious, and never stop pushing for better.